Have you ever found yourself feeling, well, kind of stuck? Caught in maybe familiar patterns, perhaps grappling with some unresolved pain, or just struggling to foster genuinely deep connections in your relationships, even though you're pouring sincere effort into them? What if true inner transformation, a path to lasting joy, wasn't just some hopeful idea, but actually a tangible reality? One deeply rooted in both ancient spiritual wisdom and surprisingly modern brain science. Today, we're embarking on a really fascinating deep dive. We're going to explore some powerful insights that reveal this profound connection between our spiritual well-being and the intricate wiring of our own brains. Our journey today will show how intentional practices, things you can actually do, can quite literally reshape our minds for deeper connection. And that's not only connection with the divine, but also connection with ourselves and with the other people in our lives.
Yeah, and what's truly compelling here, I think, is the remarkable convergence. You see these timeless spiritual principles lining up with cutting-edge neuroscientific discoveries. It's not about one contradicting the other at all. It's more like a powerful alignment that offers really practical tools for profound personal growth. So this deep dive draws on insights from a seasoned expert in counseling alongside leading neuroscientists, creating this unique tapestry where faith and brain science actually illuminate each other. It's quite amazing.
Absolutely. So, our mission today is to really unpack these transformative ideas and hopefully equip you with actionable techniques, things you can use to cultivate joy, maybe heal some past wounds, and build healthier, more resilient relationships. So, what does this all actually mean for your everyday life, and how can you start applying it? Let's dig into it. Let's maybe start with the motivation, right? Why do we even seek deeper healing and growth? We often find ourselves on this, well, sometimes relentless journey. Maybe it's seeking rest from just the exhaustion of daily life, or maybe striving for deeper personal maturity. But let's be honest, this path can feel incredibly hard sometimes. It's often painful, frustrating, and those moments of genuine joy can feel, well, few and far between. Why is that really?
That's a huge question, and it's one many individuals grapple with. Much like the expert whose insights we're drawing on, who dedicated nearly 30 years to this very work. Her own journey, which began with some foundational training back in Switzerland in '96, eventually blossomed into this pivotal role in counseling. She now leads a school with students from 10 different nations, and her experience really underscores a crucial point. Even in what seem like ideal environments, think beautiful Hawaii, emotional wounds and trauma can absolutely persist. Why? Because wherever people gather, there's always the potential for pain. Simply changing your scenery doesn't automatically heal those deep-seated issues we carry inside us.
That idea of pain, it really resonates. When we are grappling with these deep-seated issues, how does that natural human tendency we have to, project or kind of offload our problems onto others, how does that actually show up? And what's the long-term hit to our well-being? Because we do it, right? We subtly blame others or maybe circumstances, and it might offer a bit of momentary relief.
Exactly. That tendency to externalize our discomfort, our fault, it's a fundamental human pattern, almost baked in. And while, yeah, it can provide a fleeting sense of relief, it's a habit that inevitably corrodes our relationships. It really undermines our emotional health, and it distances us from any deeper spiritual connection. Now, if you look at the bigger picture, ancient wisdom often points to this singular, profound solution, the complete transfer of our burdens. Our faults, our discomfort, shame, trauma, transferring it all to a higher power. This process is really aimed at wholeness, becoming whole and complete, not necessarily achieving perfection. However, even with sincere prayer, some deeply ingrained issues can be incredibly stubborn. They just persist. And that persistence strongly suggests a need for specific, perhaps neuroscience-informed techniques to complement that spiritual practice. It's not always enough just to pray about it. Sometimes you need a technique.
That's a really fascinating point. It definitely leads us to wonder then. How do we truly let go, especially when at the same time we're often told to take up new burdens, maybe lighter ones, but still burdens? Our natural inclination might be to fear that any new burden will just feel heavier, right? Which
hmm
causes us to subtly cling to our old, familiar, maybe dysfunctional ways.
hmm
But the insight here suggests there's a deeper wisdom at play, one that understands our human, well, our cleverness, and even our tendencies toward things like codependency. And it offers this transformative exchange where a lighter, more beneficial burden is given in return for the old one. So this exchange then becomes the key to finding true lightness and profound healing.
Indeed, exactly. And the journey towards personal growth and that inner rest, it's often obstructed not just by overt suffering, the things we can easily point to, but by these subtler, much harder to identify wounds. We often recognize what's called trauma B.
Mhm.
This involves experiencing bad things,
Hmm.
accidents, abuse, neglect, things that leave a clear mark. But what's Particularly insightful and maybe less talked about is the concept of trauma A. Now, think of trauma A not as the pain of falling down, but maybe the ache of never being caught in the first place. It's the absence of crucial good things like consistent affection, validation, attuned care. It's a void. And that makes it incredibly difficult to pinpoint because it's a missing element, not an overt wound. It's especially elusive outside of our closest, most intimate relationships.
Wow. So if you notice maybe people consistently avoiding you, or perhaps if even trusted individuals seem hesitant to share uncomfortable truths with you, could that be a subtle yet significant sign? A sign of this hidden trauma A at play? Like a deeply suppressed wound that's quietly undermining your connections without you even realizing it.
It certainly could be, yeah. And the pathway to healing, then, really begins with a humble acknowledgement of these hidden wounds. We have to be willing to look. And it's not just okay to feel the pain associated with that. The profound insight here emphasizes that pain, when it's consciously processed rather than just suppressed or numbed, actually serves as a crucial signal. Think of it like a neurospiritual guide, pointing us directly to the very areas needing attention, much like physical pain alerts us to an injury. It's through this kind of brave acknowledgement that our brains can begin to reintegrate and truly heal.
Okay, that makes sense. Acknowledging the pain, not just pushing it away.
Right. Because when we instinctively numb ourselves to pain, which is a very common coping mechanism, we inadvertently dull all our senses. It's not selective. This hindering effect impacts our ability to fully experience and recognize, say, a divine presence, or even just the beauty in the world around us. Our capacity to truly see, hear, smell, taste, and touch diminishes. In relationships, this numbing can manifest in a way that makes us feel or seem to others kind of off or disconnected. We might lack vibrancy. A truly mature individual, whether we're talking in faith or just in life generally, learns to fully feel and embrace all emotions, the pleasant and the unpleasant. They learn to use all their senses to appreciate, and that word here encompasses both profound thankfulness and being deeply moved by life's experiences.
Okay, and here's where it gets really compelling for me. The research you mentioned, it now shows our brains are actually like predisposed towards joy. That's counterintuitive for many, I think. Joy isn't just a fleeting emotion we chase. It's considered the normal, the default state of our brain. Is that right?
That's exactly right. The brain's preferred operating mode.
So its absence then is a clear indicator that something is out of alignment. It suggests an abnormal state, not the other way around.
Precisely. And experts in neuroscience, folks like Jim Wilder, they reveal that gratitude is an incredibly powerful tool, maybe the most powerful tool to reset our brains to this default joyful state.
A simple but very consistent practice, they suggest, is what they call the 333 method. It's about daily, consciously identifying three people you are genuinely grateful for, three things in your life you are grateful for, and three specific moments of gratitude from your day, however small.
Three people, three things, three moments.
Yeah.
Okay. And the key you mentioned, this is crucial for its effectiveness, is to practice this slowly. Is that right? Like really let it sink in. Allow your body and your emotions to fully register the feelings of gratitude, not just rattle them off like a list. Yes, exactly. This shalom speed, drawing from that Hebrew concept of peace, wholeness, well-being, this pace of peace, it actually works faster in the long run than rushing through it. By slowing down, you're intentionally engaging your brain's right hemisphere. That's the intuitive nonlinear processing center. It specializes in recognizing emotional cues, fostering empathy, building those deep relational bonds.
So rushing keeps us stuck in the logical left brain.
Right, which is useful for tasks, but not for connection. True connection and deep healing require the wisdom of the right hemisphere. So this slow, deliberate gratitude practice is actually a scientifically validated path to accelerated healing and growth. It trains the relational brain.
Fascinating. So it's not just woo-woo, it's actually brain mechanics.
Absolutely. And connecting this to the larger framework, the brain's intricate relational circuitry involves several key centers working together. First, you have the attachment center. It's located deep inside the brain, and it instinctively guides our initial reactions. It helps decide unconsciously who we trust, who we feel safe with, who we feel connected to. Then there's the empathy center. This allows us to sometimes transcend past conflicts and see others with compassion, maybe even sharing meals or connecting with those who once seemed like adversaries. You also have the identity center, often associated with the prefrontal cortex, the highest level of the brain. This helps us understand who we truly are, our values, and how to act maturely, forming a cohesive sense of us, of self. And critically, there's the joy center. Now, this isn't one single physical spot, but rather a network of brain regions, particularly within the prefrontal cortex and areas around the eye line, that become highly active when we experience genuine joy. The great news is this joy center, this network, can be consistently recharged throughout life. Even if other centers, like the attachment center, have been damaged by past trauma, especially those formative experiences, say, between ages 4 and 12, sufficiently recharging the joy center can significantly aid in their recovery. Joy fuels healing.
Wow. Okay, so what you're suggesting then is that these ancient spiritual commands we hear, like always renounce or give thanks in everything, even when suffering, they aren't just abstract virtues or nice ideas. They're actually practical, neuroscientifically resonant principles that literally reshape our brains for the better. That connection is powerful.
It is incredibly powerful.
It really reframes things. It makes sense when you think about figures like, say, the Apostle Paul, who endured immense hardship, yet wrote so much about joy from a prison cell. He must have understood, maybe intuitively or through experience, that cultivating joy could activate the brain's capacity to navigate and overcome that adversity. Even foundational spiritual figures, we're told, endured profound suffering because of the joy set before them. So joy, in essence, is like indispensable fuel for our brains.
It truly is the fuel. Without this vital fuel of joy, our brains can become overly reliant on the logical, analytical left hemisphere. This might make us appear intelligent, capable, maybe even successful by worldly standards, but it often hinders our ability to genuinely connect with others, to feel safe in relationships, and to overcome deeply ingrained fear. Our ultimate mission, really, whether we're in some structured training or just living our daily lives, is to share this sense of divine joy and peace. And it's not just about the words we say or the scriptures we quote. It's embodied. It's in our very presence, our nonverbals.
Right, you can feel it from someone.
Exactly. If our own joy center isn't activated, if we're running on empty, our brains might instinctively seek out false joy through addictions, substances, behaviors, whatever. These offer temporary pleasure, a quick hit, but they ultimately isolate us from genuine relationship and authentic connection. But the consistent practice of gratitude, on the other hand, does the opposite. It helps reduce stress hormones like cortisol and promotes the release of hormones associated with peace and joy, like oxytocin and serotonin, setting the stage for real, lasting transformation.
Okay, that's a really profound understanding of how our brains are designed to work and how practices like gratitude can bring us back into alignment. So let's get practical. Let's explore some of these techniques for actively activating what experts call the relationship circuitry in our brains. This circuitry, as identified by neuroscientists like Carl Lehman and Jim Wilder, it seems to be about allowing all these different parts of our brain, from attachment centers to joy centers, to function harmoniously, to talk to each other effectively. And it sounds like the most effective ways to really get that circuitry online are through gratitude, which we've discussed, and also through intentional breathing.
Precisely. Gratitude and breathing are foundational. And a very natural question that comes up then is, okay, how do we breathe technically to genuinely help our brain? It's not just any breathing, right? We can actually use some powerful, even biblically rooted breathing exercises that have a direct physiological effect. Here are a few. 1, stretching and exhaling. Just begin by stretching your body fully, maybe reaching up high, taking a deep breath in, and then exhaling with a gentle whoo sound, like you're fogging a mirror. This helps to gently stimulate the nervous system in a calming way.
Okay, a who sound on the exhale. Got it.
2, humming. As you continue that exhale, instead of who, try making a gentle sound like a hum. This vibration can further activate the brain, particularly pathways related to calm, helping it reset to a more normal, balanced state.
Interesting. Humming.
3, psalm-based breathing. You can combine these physical techniques with sacred texts or affirmations. For example, silently or softly reciting something like, "When I am afraid, I will trust in you," while breathing in slowly for, say, 4 seconds, and then exhaling even more slowly, maybe for 8 seconds. That longer exhale specifically helps calm the amygdala, the brain's fear and anger center. The rhythm matters.
In for 4, out for 8, with an affirmation.
Okay, and 4, yawning and tapping. You can even incorporate yawning. Try to induce a yawn,
Right.
because that strongly stimulates the parasympathetic nervous system, the body's relaxation response. Additionally, gently tapping on your collarbone area, sort of finding a rhythm that matches your heartbeat while you're doing the breathing and reciting, can actually stimulate the attachment center, promoting a deeper sense of safety and security.
Wow, okay. Yawning and tapping on the collarbone. These are very physical, embodied practices.
They are. They engage the body and the mind.
So pulling all these different threads together then, what's the core practical takeaway here? It sounds like these simple practices, stretching, humming, paced breathing, Tapping, they're about consciously retraining your brain to access its own innate healing mechanisms. And if you find yourself maybe constantly wishing problems would just vanish or you're avoiding meaningful interactions with people, perhaps you feel stuck in those negative thought loops or you're always judging everything as strictly right or wrong. These could all be signs that your relationship circuitry might be struggling, that it's offline.
That's a really critical observation, yes. Those are definite indicators. And it naturally leads us to another important question. How do we effectively share our own experiences, our struggles and triumphs, in a way that actually brings healing and connection, rather than just, venting or dumping on someone? There's a powerful technique for this, sometimes called Emmanuel sharing or exchange prayer. The core idea isn't about burdening someone else with your stress. Instead, it's about sharing a kind of testimony, recounting how you are struggling, and then crucially, how you perceived a higher power intervening, or maybe just how you're progressing through a difficult situation with that divine help in mind. This structured way of sharing helps reset unstable relational patterns, both internally and externally, because it fosters a dialogue with the divine, which has a profoundly stabilizing effect on the brain.
Okay, Emmanuel sharing or exchange prayer. And what's truly fascinating, you mentioned its structure is inspired by these profound divine encounters we read about, like in ancient texts where a divine voice speaks comfort, saying things like, I have seen your suffering, I have heard your cry, I understand your pain, I'm with you, and I will do something for you.
Hmm?
So this isn't just a prayer format. It sounds like it's a profound neurolinguistic exercise. It mimics the very patterns of secure attachment being seen, heard, understood, accompanied, and helped. Is that the idea?
That's precisely the idea. By consistently engaging in this structured dialogue, you're literally training your brain. You're
Hmm.
training it to align with a source of unwavering presence and safety, effectively recalibrating your internal relational maps towards security.
Amazing. So how does it work? What are the steps?
It generally follows a sequence designed to be a conversation. Here's how you might walk through it, perhaps writing it down initially. 1. Gratitude. Start by expressing thanks for something specific and consciously note how saying that makes your body and mind feel. Notice the shift.
Okay, start with gratitude and notice the feeling.
2. Divine response to gratitude. Then ask or imagine. What did the divine presence say in response to your thanks? Don't filter. Just write down how you feel called or addressed. Maybe it's a feeling, an image, a word.
Okay, listening for that response.
3. Divine sees you. Actively acknowledge that the divine sees you right now, sees your efforts, your worries, all your burdens, the hidden things too. How does that feel?
Hmm.
4. Divine hears you. Then recognize that the divine hears you, hears your unspoken thoughts, your sighs, your anxieties, the things you can't even articulate.
Seen and heard. Okay.
5. Divine understands you. Now, write down how the divine understands you. This might feel disconnected from your previous thoughts, and that's okay. What sense of understanding comes? 6. Divine is with you, Emmanuel. Crucially, acknowledge the very presence of the divine with you, right here, right now. Emmanuel, God with us. Feel that presence.
With you in the moment.
And finally, 7. Divine will act. Articulate, based on this connection, what the divine might do for you, or how help might be offered, or what step you might be guided to take.
Wow, that's a very intentional structure. Gratitude response, sees, hears, understands, is with, will act.
Yes, and it's designed to be a deeply personal conversation. Reading it aloud afterwards, even just to yourself, or perhaps sharing it with a trusted partner or friend, can really amplify its effect on the brain's peace centers. The auditory input helps. And importantly, when listening to others share using this kind of framework, it's crucial to do so with genuine curiosity. Curiosity about how the divine is working in them rather than jumping into judgment or analysis or trying to fix them.
Right, just receiving it.
Exactly. This fosters a shared sense of peace and mutual understanding within that relational context. Now, initially, this practice can feel awkward, maybe even strange, especially those deeper stages of sensing divine interaction. But the insight here really stresses the importance of pouring out all emotions, honestly and openly. Just as we see in ancient spiritual poems like the Psalms, the anger, the confusion, the despair, alongside the hope and gratitude. Even if it feels raw and uncomfortable, that authenticity is key for the brain to process and heal.
That makes sense, allowing the full range of experience within that safe, structured conversation. So bringing this all together for you, the listener, what's the core message here as you move forward from this deep dive. The essence seems to be that profound transformation isn't just some abstract spiritual concept we hope for. It's actually a tangible reality deeply connected to our brain's innate God-given capacity for joy, for peace, and for connection. And by consistently practicing things like gratitude, engaging in intentional, calming breathing, and perhaps participating in this profound and manual sharing process, you can actively reshape your brain's relational circuitry. You can experience a deep, positive inner shift.
Yeah, and stepping back to see the bigger picture, the broader implication is really about cultivating a habit of intentionally looking for the divine presence in all circumstances, and maybe even more challengingly, in every person you meet. You can actively ask yourself throughout the day, okay, where is the divine right now in this moment? What is their expression, their feeling as they look at this situation or as they look at this person I'm interacting with?
Hmm.
And then the practice is to strive, even imperfectly, to mirror that expression, that compassion, that patience, that joy in your own interactions. Because that nonverbal communication of care and understanding is incredibly powerful. Our brains are designed to respond deeply to that reflected presence.
That's a beautiful, practical way to think about it, mirroring the divine expression. And it connects back to what you said earlier. This isn't about achieving some unreachable state of perfection, right? It's more about finding a consistent rhythm of joy and peace, tuning back into it again and again.
Undoubtedly, a rhythm.
So even when you're facing significant challenges, the idea is if your face isn't completely bowed in despair, if there's even a little space, that divine presence is always looking at you, always present, always desiring to give you peace. So let your journey be one of looking up, of consciously embracing this rhythm and allowing your brain, quite literally, to be rewired for an overflow of true, resilient joy.
Well said. And perhaps this raises a final important question for you, the listener, to ponder as you reflect on everything we've discussed today. In what ways might your own unexpressed feelings, things you've maybe pushed down or numbed, or perhaps a lack of specific daily gratitude practice, be subtly hindering your brain's natural built-in capacity for joy and for truly deep, peaceful connection with God and others? It's something worth considering.
That's a powerful question to leave us with. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive today. We truly hope these insights offer you not just interesting information, but genuinely powerful, practical tools for transformation and a clearer path towards continuous joy and peace in your daily life.